Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to AHDR The Chop out on Zwift. Tonight we were out on 3 laps of the Innsbruck Ring, the 2018 World Championship course. We are out here for a handicap race is what we are part of out here today, which is all about all the categories racing against each other. The D category, the C category, B category, and A category, all staggered in their starts. The slower riders start first and try and keep the faster riders from catching them. Everybody has a chance to win out on AHDR The Chop. I'm going to welcome to the broadcast my always steadfast co-commentator Pat Shaw. Pat, how is it going? And no race for you yet today, but 6 weeks to go, so you perhaps we're out on course.
No, not a lot of riding just yet, but don't worry, I've got my training plan in place and ready to get really cracking. I need to lose a fair bit of weight too. Might not look like it from the monitor, but certainly need to trim down a little bit. You mentioned it is open for everyone to win, and it certainly is. The Chop is a great event, and it's a great event for everyone. A grade's been very, very fortunate. They've won 3 rounds. D grade have also won 3 rounds. So tonight we're hoping for a C or a B. And for mine, B grade might just be the favourites tonight.
We'll have to wait and see. I do know that there's a little bit of a difference in the in the setup tonight, as there is a 3-minute gap between the A's and the B's from what you told me prior to the broadcast. We are looking at the D category here, just getting out on course here. Does look like they have 46 in there. So we gave some encouragement last week about getting a few more choppers out there, and quite the participation this week for that D category, Pat.
Yeah, look, D grade category was good last week too. I think about 39, but they continue to gain momentum with. I guess the thought that if I ride with D grade, I might get up for the victory. But also, I think that the Chop is, as we see each year, these events grow. But the Chop is probably the most popular, and more and more people that take part each week are dragging their friends along as well to take part, and they're loving it. We get plenty of people in store coming through saying that they've been racing the Chop, watching the stream, and big shout out to those that pop in and say hi. Grab a little bit of Zwift swag as well. But I reckon B grade tonight's got good numbers. C grade's got good numbers. But I just think that B grade being only 2 minutes behind C grade and just 5 minutes behind D grade, it really puts them in a good spot to go all out. Normally we see B grade almost soft pedal a little bit. We call it crystal cranking sometimes, to get caught by A grade to give them the best chance of catching the front of the race. But certainly tonight, there's no waiting around for B grade.
Yeah, I have a feeling we might see a little extra motivation. Now, the course this week is definitely one that might suit the B grade as well, being something that's got a solid kick on it, as well as having the reality of that 3 minutes. It's a little bit more, hey, we've got a chance here this week. Let's make sure to take advantage of it. Wendy, I was saying, well, excuse me, Wendy, this was actually from a few weeks ago. So Pino did not win the tour, but
No.
good to see. No, but we did have definitely some tour definitely interesting tour interest. Final few days there, as it was actually Egan Bruno. But you can interact with us on social media, but for some reason we're not getting an update here, and I have a feeling I know exactly why it's not going to there. So we're going to go ahead and create a quick little update. And we are seeing James Hodge as well as Wendy. There we go. Hi, Nathan and Pat. 6 weeks, Pat. Just she's counting. Pat, this is hilarious, Wendy, because right before the broadcast, I actually mentioned to Pat that he's only got 6 weeks to go till he needs to be ready to go. We even talked about myself racing today, so we're on it. Just so you know, Wendy, we're gonna be looking at maybe getting some of the commentary on the bikes and getting some of those live shots of what it takes to race in each one of these categories, Pat. So they're on you here, Pat.
Yeah. Wendy's going to keep me well and truly in my place. Don't worry, Wendy. I'm looking to get a bit fitter. It's just too easy not to. I mean, we're coaching these young riders, and the likes of Nick White, who goes and races Tour de l'Avenir just next week, has been quite exciting to be coaching him in the lead up to such a massive UCI event for an under 23 rider. And we all remember that Nick was also part of the Zwift Academy. He made the final 3 to go to the Dimension Data training camp. For those that aren't aware, the Zwift Academy is kicking off next week. I think it's next week or
Believe
the
it is
week
next week.
after.
Yeah, August 6th, I believe it is. So yeah, just coming up
So
really
that's
quickly here.
Tuesday. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
so
next
sometime next week.
Tuesday. So if you aren't already signed up, get signed up because it's a great opportunity, particularly those young kids that we do see on Zwift, under 17s, under 15s, and the likes. It's a really good training program as well. Sets you a really good plan and then some really good races as well, just to top off that preparation and probably gives you a good indication on how you should prepare for an event in the future. If you're even looking to peak for a Gran Fondo event or a mass participation ride, the Zwift Academy really does offer a great platform with the plans through that. So certainly been busy with Nick, and tonight I've got Jesse Norton taking part in the A grade as well. So really excited to see what he can do tonight. He's another youngster from the Ballarat area, but certainly they are pushing me to get fit as well. So I'll be on the bike next week, guaranteed. And I think my son's nailed me down for a big bike ride on Saturday as well.
I'd love to hear it. Love to hear it. So, I'm gonna. The challenge here is gonna be like I'm gonna get into whatever category that Pat is on, and I'll just be like, on my wheel, Pat. On my no, Pat will be like, on my wheel, Nathan. On my wheel, Nathan. So we'll have to have some back and forth here to see who's doing. I don't know how much commentary is actually going to be going on during that broadcast, but the
All I
boys
can
here.
say All I can say, Nathan, is the only time I said to my teammates not to get on my wheel was when I was going out the back door, and I'd be giving you that same advice. It's not probably the wheel that I would be choosing to sit on.
Looking at the D category, stretching out just a little bit here, and they are heading into the leg snapper. This is going to be the section of the course that I think we talked about this the last time we were out here. This is the section coming up because of the steep gradient, and watts per kilogram is always what really matters. That 1 to 2 to 3 minute power all out. Watt per kilogram, though, not raw power, really can put a little bit of hurt into the time gaps for the C and the D category. So there's going to be the section where they're going to really, it's this razor's edge a little bit for the C and the D category, Pat. I think that trying to stay away from the lead or from the A and the B's and the C's or even the C's from the A's and the B's, how much risk do you put into losing those riders that might be able to do a little extra something for you? Will they be able to do anything extra? There's a little bit of this, like, how cutthroat do we get and say, can you hang on? What kind of pace can you give us? And at what point are we shedding off extra power from the group that could help us on those flats, but maybe not be able to hang on with a solid kick over the top? Maybe speak to, is it better, you think, in your estimation, for the group to just hold back, or do they just need to plow over the top because time is of the essence in this situation?
Yeah, sure, time is of the essence, but I would probably break it down. I break it down, look at it, it's a handicap. So if you're losing this evening, when we revisit this course again, your handicap's going to grow anyways. If I was to give advice to D grade and C grade in particular, I'd stick to the wattage that is your group's handicap. So I think it's 2.2 and below for D grade. Is that correct, Nathan? I always get mixed up on the actual uh, the caps on the watts per kilo, but you stick to that. That's your category. It's very unlikely you're going to drop a mass part of your group. Obviously, some days riders will feel better than others, so when they're having their off days, they may drop off earlier. But that way, you're going into that final lap with a solid group, and that's when you can really push your threshold to the maximum. But already the tough climb that we're seeing them tackle, this is where it really does make it difficult for the groups. And I think often it's because a rider goes to the front and they don't want to let down the group. But then you go too hard, and that splits the group and yourself often. So my advice, stick to that watts per kilo grading of your group. You're going to get to the end of, or at least the start of the final lap with a good sized group. And that's then when to start the dialogue about how hard can we go, start using those power ups, because it's inevitable that A and B grade are going to make up time. But if you've got good legs coming into that final lap, that will hurt them immensely. They are actually banking on C and D grade fatiguing heavily in that final lap. But if you stick together as a group and get into that final lap as a group, you can then start to sacrifice some of the riders for the greater good.
We are looking through at the top here. Kim here now hammering 3.4, and you were saying now staying within the category limits. So the category limits for the chop are 1.5 to 2.5 watts per kilogram for the D category. But just so everybody knows, the that is your average power throughout the event, or your functional threshold power, even like for a 20-minute test. A lot of times, race organizers will either use the average power for the duration, or they'll use your best 20 for the event. So a lot of times it's between the race organizers that do this, and they do track it over on zwiftpower.com. For the C category is 2.5 to 3.2 watts per kilogram. In the B category is 3.2 to 4.0 watts per kilogram. And in that A category, it's 4 to 5 plus watts per kilogram. Now, the idea there is, though, that riders are most likely going to go over that watt per kilogram for certain durations, but it's going to be about the average, because like we say, the chop is all about those over-under intervals that essentially are at the front. You're going to be pulling in such a way that is going way over what you could hold for 20 minutes. Probably a full watt per kilogram over what you could hold for 20 minutes. But then when you get and sit in, it's going to be under threshold. It's going to be into a endurance mode or tempo mode, what you could hold for up to an hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours while you sit in, get recovered, and then take another pull at the front. It's full-on team time trial type mode, but with 30 or 40 of riders around your same level. So staying within those category limits is going to be all about an ebb and flow of those watts per kilogram. As we kind of are seeing from S. Kim here, although I think the blob just kind of it came barreling down the leg snapper to catch up with him. So we've been with the D category for most of the duration so far here. Let's go ahead and jump on over. We do have a feed for the B category here. 73 riders, and as you were saying, with 73 riders in there, I'm not sure anyone's going to be catching this category today.
Well, and they're working really well. I started the ride in B grade this evening, so I followed them the whole time, switching between the two feeds, our live feed and also their feed in B grade, working really well together. And I think their ride leader really doing a great job too in making sure that everyone is riding at the same level. But they're about to come around and start the leg snapper themselves. It'll be interesting to see how many of those 73 make it over the top. Big shout out to Kendall Hodges, and I think it's Aisha Bradbury, who's also in the B grade tonight. So they're two of the young ladies that were racing in the SRAM Send It series just a few weeks ago. And we've talked about those riders also finding themselves racing in the chop. So when you're racing in the chop, you're not just racing, the people from the weekend, etc. You're racing up against some of the best riders in the nation. So it's a really good hit out for everyone. And it's good to see that these riders are consistently turning up for a race as well, because I said this is really good preparation for these riders as they go into the National Road Series later in the year, which actually the first round for the men starts this weekend in Cairns.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting to see how many riders are starting to take on the racing and the riding out on Zwift here in order to try and boost their fitness before the real life events. So good to see those elites hanging in amongst this B category. We've also had in Zwift Community Test Lab Shower 2020 who went up against some of these riders in the KISS Super League and also are coming up against them in some of the classics. They've been showing up there specifically for the women. They've been jumping into the B category and hammering away, getting an amazing workout, actually. Shayna Post, Amanda Coker, we've seen as well in that. So, I mean, across the world, we're seeing professional and elite riders jumping in and out on Zwift and mixing it up with the community to get their solid workouts, so getting prepped for in real life events for sure, as well as getting prepped for some of the higher end Zwift events now as it's becoming its own genre. That is for sure. But back in with it looks like C category now, as they are heading down the leg snapper. And this is the category that we've always kind of praised as being extremely well organized here, as Simpson has been on top of keeping everybody fairly organized and together. But looking through here, interesting to see there's been a little bit of a breakup. Now it is coming back together here. As you can see, 74 riders in the C category. So 73 versus 74. It's like this battle for best participation out here between these categories. But Compton here now, we are seeing HDR ladies now bringing things back together. It looks like as the splits were heading down the leg snapper, but so it looks like they're able to keep a pretty good contingent of riders together. A few off the back, but again, the C category is going to be between 2.5 and 3.2 watts per kilogram, and they do look to be barreling away pretty well here. 33 miles per hour. I did swap that right before. Everybody, just so you know, Nathan did swap over to your kilometers right before the broadcast, but I logged out and logged back in to cover the D category, and for some reason, it just does not like keeping. Like I literally saved it, like with kilometers. It just thinks that I'm supposed to be on miles. It seems like so. We're going imperial today.
It's your US software. It's getting jealous of you trading over to the kilometers per hour measurement. Much better measurement in my mind. But anyways, let's focus on the racing. Splitting up a little bit was the B grade over that time over the leg snapper though, Nathan. So this is really crucial that doesn't happen. About 10 riders split off the front. We're watching C grade, which you mentioned had mostly come back together, which is really important. But it will be about which group can stay as big as possible for as long as possible. Obviously, you don't want to be a huge group and going at 2 kilometers an hour, but in no way known is that going to happen in the chop because everyone's taking their turns at the front. But certainly, strength and numbers is the key. And if you've got 74 riders in the group and after 7 kilometers you've only got 20, you've gone about it the wrong way. There's no doubt about it. So in A grade, it's a bit of a different circumstance because they're a little bit cuckolded the way they have to ride. They have to basically go flat out the whole way. They've been successful so much through the series of chop events that we have covered so far that their handicap just continues to get tougher and tougher every week. Last week, they were a little bit off the mark, but it's going to be interesting with D grade coming back to the field a little bit and B grade going out from A grade. Just what kind of a finish we do get tonight, probably going to be another one that goes right down to the wire.
It does look like it. 3:13 now. Last week with about 2 laps to go, it was 3:13 for the C category, but that was with a 6-lap race. We are seeing the time gaps now live on the screen on your left-hand side of the screen. They will be covering the leaderboards for the sprints and the KOMs, etc. So we will have those live time gaps. They are working, and now just so everybody knows, 4:32 from the D's to the B category and 7:21 back to the A's. Now the A's are just about to get into their climb proper here in just a moment. Actually, they're just getting over the top now, and the splits are already starting to happen. 38 riders in the A category. Interesting to see because the A category has been the category with, last week we saw somewhere between 20 and 30 riders. This week they're almost pushing up into 40. So with a few extra riders out there today, I think they might have a better chance to close down that extra minute gap. We'll have to wait and see, though, how this works out because I believe it was Johnny Boy from the D category that won on this specific course just a few weeks back. So it's really up to the A's at this point, I think, to shut down that D category from what we've seen in the past, unless the B's have a little extra firepower out there to make the catch on the C's in the D category out there today. So, again, Morozo out the front here, 21 seconds. That is a huge gap. And who is running the show out there today? I do believe it may be Creel. We'll have to wait and see. Kim Little's out there, as we can see, as well as Coles. We are seeing Robertson and Jesse Norton here from SAP, as you were saying, out there for some of the horsepower to be watching out for. Robertson from BRT as well as Samson, their U17 rider, coming, it looks like. Where's Samson coming out of?
Probably Tasmania. That seems to be the real trend. And most of the junior under 15, under 17, and even under 19 seem to be coming out of Tasmania. And this looks really good for the future of Tasmanian cycling because they've always produced very, very good bike riders. And I only have to think back to Matt Goss, our own Wes Sulzberger as well. They've got some tremendous talent that comes out of there. Richie Port is obviously one that's still in the peloton and doing an amazing ride as well. But it has been a little bit since we've seen a real pure talent come out of Tasmania. And I think we're back in the strongest part with so many strong juniors in the under 17s in particular around Australia. So I'm not sure whether Samson is. And if you do know, pop it in the chat below. Certainly, most of the time, the chatter box does know more than us, Nathan. It's not that hard sometimes, but certainly great to see some more junior riders taking a start in the A and B categories as well, because they're going to strengthen their form. Great to see Jesse out there as well, a local fellow driving it on the front. He had a bit of a plan about tonight how to attack this course, particularly the likes of Cam Roberts and Jeffrey Creel in the bunch, Kim Little normally out there and really ripping into these young kids. And I was going to say, when you said more numbers this week than last week, I was surprised because, to be honest, A grade's race last week was absolute torture. I was looking at the numbers, the power numbers from my riders that took in the race, and it split up really early. Which makes it a little bit hurts the heart a little bit, doesn't it? The confidence. So to step up again and come back this week's really important for these riders, and it's great to see good, solid 30+ numbers in A grade as well.
Yeah, and I am seeing it. Stretton actually is the name I'm looking at here, also for a U17 rider.
Oh, yeah.
Dalton Stretton for WP Taz, actually. So interesting to see another rider. I'm not sure if Sampson, I did see Sampson in game, I believe, with the U17 next to the name. I'll have to double check unless my eyes were tricking me there. But that rider perhaps not signed up with SwiftPower.com yet. I'll have to double check that, though. Cam Roberts giving a little bit of a shout out there saying bunch up. But Stretton, WP Taz, I have a feeling you know who that rider is.
Yeah, he's a really talented young rider, and he's been doing really well. He's been on Zwift for quite some time now, and so is his younger brother and friends in the area. I think they're from around Launceston. I'm going to have a guess, and they'll probably correct me after the stream, but I do have a little bit of back and forth with him after the events that he has been doing. He's been going really well, so all the best for the rest of the season as well, and it's great to see you out here. So it's great. It is. I love seeing the young riders out here, and I think that it can only help them riding with these other National Road Series riders, of which they probably idolise at this point in their junior careers.
We are seeing, yeah, so that's pretty cool to see how these riders can mix it up in and amongst them and try and, give a go with them, do some work with them in order to close these gaps down. That's always great camaraderie and really motivating for riders that are up and coming for sure. So back in, though, we are seeing the time gaps here. They are coming down a little bit. We're looking at about a 5. Is that correct now? All the way, 6:16. So a full minute loss, but it's only 3 laps. It'll be interesting to see. They're going to have to bring back the time a little bit quicker, I think. 2:50, though, from the C's to the D's, and a 3:33 currently as it stands between the B and the D category, but only 1 minute between those B's and the C's about at this point. So it's going to be up to the C's to keep those B's from chasing them down. We're hearing from Tim Searle out there helping to organize things, and the organization is more than welcome. And Tim Searle's correct. Nathan Guerra and Johnny Boy is now a C, and that is speaking to the winner last time we were out on Innsbruck in the D category. So looks like earned himself an upgrade out there, which is always a congratulations, and showing off the skills out there and the power a lot of times does end up in those upgrades, which we always love to see here. Now, back in, though, we are seeing with the C category, this is going to be Botsford. Not sure if that's a joke on the name there. Just kidding. As far as we don't want any bots out on the course, but Botsford now sitting at the back of the pack, going to be looking for some bot legs though to get back to the front in just a moment here. As they're going to be heading into their leg snapper as the C category again. They've got a 2:39 to 3:32. Okay, so 2:39 C to D. They've got a 2.5 minutes or so to close down. Only a lap and a half though at this point. The 5-minute difference. The Innsbruck Ring leg snapper again may make the difference to bring back some of that time gap. Goes out to 2:43, and the reason that being there, as you can see on the left-hand side, is most likely because the D category has gone up and over the top of their climb, for the, and they are actually just jumping over the top of their climb for the second time here. So as the C's are chasing them down, interesting to see that time gap here should start to fall. As we do see D Brown here leading things out for that D category. Smith is there as well, right behind him. It looks like Lanaz, and then it's going to be Morley who led things out over the top for them Last lap,
Mind you, that was an incredible ride by Seagrade and by Johnny Boy to survive all the way to the end. They did a phenomenal last 4 kilometers, and that's where it really matters on this course. If you have a look at the distance traveled, you're looking at about an average of 1% grade for the total distance of the race, which is not a huge amount because many would think of the Innisbrook course, particularly the ring, as being a very hilly course. But in fact, it's just that one real tough climb that adds such elevation gain. So it's interesting to maybe do a little bit of forward planning about how you would attack this course before tonight's chop. I spoke to the guys that I have locally doing the race tonight and said that really it's important to factor in that you need some energy before you get to the base of the leg snapper. Then when you get over the top, see how you feel once you get down to the bottom of the descent and then start to really assist your group again. And that's where the strongest riders really should be going to the front anyways to push the pace on the leg snapper. And I think the groups that do that best will be the most successful. But so far, looking at those time gaps, everyone's doing it pretty much to the dot as expected.
yeah, looking at these time gaps here, 240 between B and from the B category to the D category. So this is interesting to see here. Are those Bs chasing down right behind at this point? And with the gap not being too wide open at this point, A category 5 minutes still back up to those D category. They've got their work cut out for them this week. But we're looking at the seasons. They make their way up and over the top here, and we just saw that D category. They are going through the sprint banner. So here's the differences right now. This is the D category. Here is the C category. We just saw the Ds come down this section. 2 minutes and 4 seconds is the difference now. And Randall now driving the pace along with Sawa there out of Japan. Kelly's there as well, coming out of Australia now, Bean and Polly. And they've got to really, now this is where they need to carry the momentum through this section. You kick over the top of that leg snapper, and a lot of times there's not a whole lot left of the tank. Rest it up a little bit if you were one of the ones driving the pace. Hope to grab onto the wheel of those who are going to come through, because if you did rest up and save a little bit of something coming over the top, you could be a rider that's able to drive the pace through. But then it's all about, are you dropping too many people off? It's kind of this razor's edge that we've been talking about. We've got to keep as many riders in as we possibly can. At the same time, you do not want to lose that momentum on the downhill, because there's so much that can be gained, Pat, just like in real life cycling. How much is there to gain when you come down these barreling down these climbs and roll through with a high wattage if you've got the power to give and hold on to that 38, 34, 38 to 40 kilometers per hour, or excuse me, miles per hour on the top here. That's crucial for closing gaps down.
It certainly is, and Ryan C grade, B grade isn't that far off. I'd say about 30 seconds. I don't know what the clock is saying right now. Just watching them come over the top, but to gain that much time in one lap, B grades had to sacrifice significant numbers. I mean, you just spoke about C grade. I mean, they dropped off, although they still seem to have around that 25 riders in their front contingent. In B grade, they're down to just 16 or 17, and that might even be being a bit cautious with the count. They've got a couple come back as well. McCosker on the front, going well for Phoenix, and going to need to keep pushing. Some messages coming through. C and D easier this lap, but Kendall Hodges finds herself still in there. Great to see that as well. And it's really quite a great job that B grade is doing tonight. Closing in on C grade. C grade has closed in enough on D grade for the distance covered so far after 16 kilometers for the B graders. They've covered it in just 21 and a half minutes. It's very quick pace. But the big question will be, how hard does A grade go up the leg snapper this lap? They really need to start closing in on this formidable effort by B grade tonight.
Yeah, look at this B grade just making the catch barely. And it's just a couple of riders, though, that are actually off the front of the B category that are making the catch, it looks like. So it looks like it is going to come together, though, as you can see between these riders. It's only a few seconds here. And the B grade almost a little bit coming through saying no problem on a catch to the D category this lap. Well, they've got to do it, though, because there's 1 lap to go. It's 3 laps today out here on course. Unless correct me if I'm wrong. If it's only, I believe it's only 3 laps today out on course. That's what I am seeing over on zwiftpower.com. And if I'm not incorrect, there's not a whole lot of landscape left to work with for that A category to make the catch, or even to catch that D category, as it's still 144 out, and it's not like the gap has come down that quickly that it's just going to be a walk in the park here, Pat. B category still has a lot of work cut out for them, but your predictions beforehand could be correct. Let's hear from chat, though, guys. Let us know what you think. It's still 340 back to the A category. The B category's got 1 lap to go. What's going to happen here? You can see the time gaps on the side. It's D category in the lead with 140 back to the Bs, and then a 143 back to the Cs, and then a full 338 back to that A category. A category has to close down 2 minutes to the B category at this point. And B, if they want to win, they still got those Ds to catch, Pat. It's a wide open race at this point still.
Yeah, it's wide open, but it's going to come down to numbers. This is the big part that we spoke about. We have seen a few B graders go off the front. They've gone at it rogue, as we call it. That's made this main B grade group a lot smaller. Then in C grade, we saw them drop off significant numbers last lap as well. So it's going to be who's got the fuel in the tank. And if there's one thing we can guarantee is A grade has fuel to burn. Who's going to burn it? How are they going to do it? That's the question. But they've always got fuel to burn. So knowing that they've got about 8.5 kilometers to cover, while everyone else has got closer to that 6.5 to 7, it's going to be who can dig deep that final time, the leg snapper, because in A grade, they know as soon as they go over the top, it's a descent, and about 3 kilometers, 3.5 kilometers after the descent is the finish line. So they can empty the tank almost up the leg snapper, and that's where they can really gain some significant time. We can expect to see in the 700s watts being produced, absolute watts. So that represents quite a significant amount, around that 10 to 12 watts per kilo. And that's not going to be achievable for those front grades. So we can expect to see probably 30 to 40 seconds lost just on the climb in the final ascent.
This is interesting. Now, the time gap's a little bit different here on the left-hand side of the screen, but, for the absolute live, look just behind here. Oh my gosh, they're around the corners. They almost caught them straight up, and I think maybe one of the Bs mixed it in and amongst the Cs momentarily, and that's why the time gap, it's like absolute on any B category if they did catch them or anything. But look at this. Kay Simpson, I just saw her for a moment saying, we're edging it back, great work. I mean, they're holding them off. Now, I'm not sure, on the leg snapper, I think it's just going to be pow, uppercut and done, but we'll have to wait and see. Perhaps a few of these C graders will give a kick here. But full gas we're seeing from Mike Brooks. They're really at each other's throats here at this point. Look at this behind the B category. Got him in sight, but just cannot seem to claw it to these Cs. They are throwing down this week. Solid efforts here. Simpson making away to the front here. 3.4 watts per kilogram, doing a lot of the brunt of the work now at this point, and typing at the same time to keep everybody within, organized and within the group that they need to, and really keeping the power. It's almost like she's got a whip here and saying, let's mush, let's go here, as they race away around this Innsbruck ring for their final lap. And behind there, the B category just not able to close the gap just yet as we're looking at the Cs. A category, though, that's going to be the next question. Where are they at? And this is interesting that they're nowhere in sight yet, that the A category seems to really, that extra minute making a big difference this week. I'm seeing indoor specialists as well as Hodges here. I'm going to see if I can bring this in for everybody. And here it is. There's the A category. Fraser here for Park Life, 5.3 watts per kilogram. Coles from Indoor Specialists. James Hodges from the KRT teams. There's with BRT up toward the front. Cam Roberts that we were speaking about. Some of the biggest horsepower in the game at this point, making the way to the front. 6.0 watts per kilogram coming from Fraser there from Park Life. So they are motivated. They know that the next gap to close down is about a minute up to those Cs. And then from there to the D category, it's about a minute as well. So it's coming right down to the wire. And the D category about to take their right-hand turn on over toward the leg snapper climb. But they're still looking at the Ks to go. We're still looking at about 7K to go. That's plenty of room here to close down 2 minutes or so.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we know A grade will go all in, and they got good numbers tonight. That's probably the biggest thing that we've realised, different to last week. Last week they were down to 10 riders very, very early. They went too hard in my mind, and that's what stopped them from really getting close to the win. But they got good numbers there. Eventually, these riders are going to know, okay, I'm happy to have done 20 kilometres. I've got a really good workout. Now I'm going to empty the tank for my fellow A-grade competitors. It's going to be interesting to see just how close it gets. I think it's right on the edge of being D grade, C and B, or A grade. Who's going to get there? It's really a 33% chance for all three categories. They've got 1/3 the possibility. Three groups remain. The C and B combined has obviously a lot of numbers, but so does this A grade group that we're watching now, watching through the eyes of Fraser from Park Life Cycling Club. But yeah, I don't know. I think it could be. I always like to be in front, but I'm going to put it in the favour of A grade at this point.
Ooh, that's a big bet here. I'm not sure if they're favored at this point, and I mean, perhaps. Okay, here's the thing. It's always that last kick on Innsbruck Rings. We do see the catch here from the B category to the C category. So now at this point, they have absolutely been caught. The C category definitely given that last ditch effort, and it held them off for a solid quarter of a lap or so, but making their way to the front here. Here come the B category, trying to chase down those Ds. The Ds, a minute and 20 or so up. Only a minute. We're hearing from M. Brooks here, trying to keep them going. It's only a minute, and that is from the D category. This is a D category feed as far as what my avatar is in on this feed, everybody. So the chat that you are seeing across is going to be the ride leaders of the D category saying, go, let's go. We've got to hold them off. It's only a minute between us and the Bs and the Cs at this point. Now, on this course, what I always find interesting is the way that the final climb is attacked, because at this point there's almost no use in waiting any longer, because it's only, what is it, about 3-4K to the finish line from the leg snapper. So from that point forward, it's about 3.5 K, 3.5K, 3K to the finish line from the top of the leg snapper. I'm looking at the course profile right now, and at 5.0 kilometers, you're about quarter way through the leg snapper, and then you're on the descent at 5.5 kilometers. So right at the finish line, you're looking at about 9K. So yeah, about 3.5K. With just that to go, the reality is given everything you got over the top, and then T-team with whoever can come with you is a bigger advantage than waiting at this point, because the A category, they're going to go all in. We're going to see 10, 11 watts per kilogram, almost a sprint type situation, in order to try and close down any kind of time that they can take back, because they know that that's the section, Pat, that their biggest advantage is on.
Well, it is their biggest advantage, and that's because they can just go so hard. Cam Roberts is going to be the driving force, because Jeffrey Creel, who was their ride leader, has been dropped from the group. They're down to about 14 riders to 20 riders in that front group, and that David Stratton, he's still in there, still pushing hard as we watch through the eyes of Fraser from Park Life again. They're coming through that cobbled section, and then not far up ahead, they will start to ride on the leg snapper. And I can tell you right now, they're going to be catching immense amounts of riders as they all tackle this grueling ascent. The graders, the B graders, and the D graders are just going over the top. This is going to be a ripper finish tonight, Nathan, and it's going to really come down to the wire. Who can still push the pace once they get over the top of the leg snapper? Because right now, C grade and B grade really about 3/4 to halfway up, so they're not quite over the top. Groups splitting everywhere, and then it's going to be A grade hitting the base. It's going to be about a minute still, because it does take about a minute to do the complete ascent. As now we see McCosker from Phoenix descending down the other side. Ride leader Beacon in the foreground. It's going to be really, really close between the D and B grade coming together right on the line. And can A grade do something very, very special?
They will have to, because they're on just the other side of the leg snapper. So we did see, as we said, the kick, the final kick for the Who Can Come With Us TT, and it is going to be Sterney there from Team Dirt, as well as some of the other indoor specialists I think that are out here battling against each other. Good to see Sterney out there hammering away from Dirt. These boys have been getting up early for the Chop Racing, but interesting to see. I do believe it is Teat Leister here coming from indoor specialists, which is kind of their elite team from amongst the Dirts there. So good to see that they're out there battling it out against each other. But just over the top of the leg snapper is the A category. The B category just around the corner at this point. 27 seconds up to the D category, though, at this point. The catch is about to be made. And that's what you saw there off in the distance for that rider beacon just a moment ago, that was the D category's rider beacon. And they essentially said, my work has been done. Brooks was like, go D category, go, and backed off at this point. Same thing with Creel, and just get everything you can. It's two riders off the front, A. Smith and D. Brown, giving everything they can. 3.8, 3.7 watts per kilogram, maybe earning themselves an upgrade. We'll have to wait and see what kind of watts per kilogram that they held over the top here. We're seeing Sangio Gill here and Morley as well, and it's going to be Williams and Gilmore all making the chase for the second group out here, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to pull this back. The B category just behind. It's still 14 seconds back to them at this point. This is just driving here from Cam Roberts. Cam, this is absolutely right down to the wire. The B category is just coming through the sprint banner here at this point. It's only 53 seconds. Who's it going to be? You might have been right on, though, for the A category. Even with the 3 minutes here, they're just catching the C's. They're going to have about a K&a-half to make up 30 seconds here, Pat.
Yeah, and look, all I can feel, we can't really see it because all we can see is the avatars, but all I can feel is all the immense amounts of lactic acid and pain coming through each and every one of these riders' bodies right at this point. It's going to be a race all the way down the line. There's no doubt about that, but who can get the job done? I still think it favours A-grade. Their potency in the sprint finish is going to be huge. Can Cam Roberts do something from behind? He's urging on his crew. C-grade staying to come back to the A-graders. There's not many A-graders left, but at the end of the day, we used to be told it didn't matter how far you won by. You just had to cross that line first. B-grade, they've got D-grade in sight. D-grade trying to survive. It's really going to be one of the best finishes as Brown. It is in front with Smith from D-grade. Big kudos to them. San Giorgio from back behind that with Gilmore. As you mentioned, Morley, my local man, he's up there too. Chris Pitcher right there close as well. And it's McCosker leading things for B-grade coming from behind. It's going to come down right to the wire tonight, Nathan.
Darryl Brown here trying to make things happen. As you can see, it's going to be Smith there as well, hanging onto the wheel. It's right into the final 500 meters and within 1K at this point, as well as the A category. I have a feeling the D category are just going to barely pull this off here, and there will most likely be some upgrades I'm seeing here. But Anthony Smith, Darryl Brown, 3.1 watts per kilogram. We were seeing a solid effort here off the front at 179 beats per minute. Brown there up into 193 with 300 meters to go, but Sterney with the final kick. B category is giving everything they've got, and he's got an arrow power up. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought it was too little too late, but no, it's going to be Sterney, it looks like, from the Dirt, from Team Dirt. Dads inside, riding trainers, showing us how it's get it done out of the US of A here at the last moment. And I believe in the A category, we're going to have one final kick to the line. It looks like Fraser from Park Life. No Channel here now. It looks like out of Japan just coming across the line. We just missed it there for the replay. I'll try and get a solid replay from another cam view in a second here. But what a race there. For the, I mean, it came literally within 10 seconds of each other, and the B category was Sterney there, timing it just perfectly for the Dirt team, and getting up early there to win a race out here. So cool to see. Perfect timing, it seemed like, this week from the race organizers there, Pat.
It was excellent. I think A-grade might have lacked a bit of potency tonight, but they gave it everything. Pushed really hard with Cam Roberts at the end. It was B-grade's best chance to win tonight. Sterney gets the job done. Rusty Dave, well done, B. You're not wrong, Rusty Dave. A big effort, and it was right down in that final push. And I think that two great degraders out in front. Brown in particular would be kicking himself just a little bit, Tim Searle. What a race. That's a little bit of self-kudos there, Tim. We know you set the handicaps, and good job there as well. So, well, we'll have a look in the next few weeks whether you and I can get our form up the grabs. We already know, Nathan, that you're Nick. I'm certainly not in anywhere that condition that you are. Smith hung on for fifth. B-grade took out the top 4 places and rounded out all the rest of the places in the top 10 as well. But it was a great ride, particularly by the B-graders tonight.
Yeah, amazing ride by the B graders. Look at how they swarmed it at the end there. Anthony Smith just barely able to hang on. Looks like he jumped on a wheel or two as that final kicked into the line, but it was going to be Jason Sterney there from the dirt. Dirty Afternoon Delight. Is that the new team name? Dan Lehman there coming through for second place for DC Racing. Darren Reed there for third from that B category team AHDR. And then will be Michael Elias there for PLCC in fourth place. D category Anthony Smith. For fifth, it's going to be Ryan Johnson for sixth from Team HDR. Seventh place does go to Dennis Casey. The boys, YTB. It looks like eighth place goes to Kendall Hodges there for GUS, and then it's going to be Stuart Brown in ninth place for Team HDR. Matt Lilly there in 10th place. So solid racing all around. I was super, super impressed by that B category, though. What they were able to pull off, I think, in the final few was actually something a little bit special. It was with the timing that they were able to grab it with there. As we do see, this was the final moments there. We saw Brown there for just a second. 11 watts per kilogram. Solid sprint here from Sterney up into 12 watts per kilogram from the dirt racers there, and able to just nip Brown here. And look, it's literally right at the line. They're within the last 150 meters there, and the timing there almost perfect, as you were saying. A little bit of pat in the back there to self Tim Stroh with the organization, but it looks like they've got the timing really well down pat now at this point. So, all right, so that's going to be it for us this week, everybody. Pat, I mean, great racing all around. Next up, we're going to be back next week, though, for some more racing. I'm not sure what the course is, but a little bit of shout-outs there, Pat, at all for those who might want to jump into the racing and, a little bit of encouragement there. I mean, we've been talking each and every week. It's all about getting as many riders out there as we possibly can.
Yeah, and look, we're getting the series dialed now, as we saw tonight, everyone within about 30 seconds of the winner, which is really, really good. And, well, it was nice not to see D-grade or A-grade win tonight. Maybe C-grade next week, we wait and see. It's important that you recruit some riders to help you along the way. I think C-grade probably gets the tip of my hat tonight for staying together as a group the best. They did that really well. But maybe next week, just pushing the envelope just a little bit further might turn into success for them. Yes, join us again next Thursday. I'm off to Queensland for some sunshine on the weekend to look at all the new giant bikes for 2020. I can't wait. It's like a holiday dream for a cyclist. But back next week after some beautiful sunshine.
Sounds good, Pat. Sounds good. And thanks a lot to all the viewers out there. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that follow button as well as turn on your notifications. We are live on Facebook, Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube. Probably the best place to find our replays could be, a lot of times it will be Twitch or YouTube. It's a lot easier to find our VODs if you just visit the Zwift Community Live Facebook. You can scroll down and you'll be able to find it there as well. But there's a lot of times it's a little bit easier to find VODs on those other two platforms. Make sure to turn on your notifications, though, for whichever platform you like to watch us live on here on Zwift Community Live. Make sure to show up next week as well for more social media integration. We'd love to see all of your comments. We are listening to them for sure, as well as make sure to watch out for a lot of new races on the schedule next week and a little bit of a schedule change next week. Not for this specifically. Chop's going to be in the same place that it has been. Test Labs, I think, is moving as we are going to be picking up the Fusion ECT series, as well as maybe something else, maybe a couple other things that are going on that some of the other race promoters are chatting about. So be on the watch out for that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And as always, right on.